Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you. We are going to be talking about the Law of One, Book One, our Part 3 with Nina the Mystic as or from Beyond Truth, I should say now, as the name has changed. And so has the logo, the merchandise, and all of that other stuff. Nina, thank you for being on tonight. Maybe you should explain some of that to us.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on again. It's a great little series that we got going here. I'm hoping that you guys are all enjoying it. Yeah, I'm sure most of you have noticed that I've rebranded and got new logo and all that good stuff. And with that comes new merch. And so go and subscribe over onto my YouTube and check out the video. I just posted all about it, telling you all about why I rebranded and all that good stuff. What's new, so go and check that out.
Absolutely. And I'm sure everybody will. Go get yourself some new merch or some older merch like this, the Milky Way Soul Tribe shirt, and or a Native American Myths and Legends mug, short shirt, or any other of that stuff. And like I said, I think you discontinued the Ana Corona by now, or you got any of that?
I did. Yes, the original logo is discontinued. However, I have a couple of things left in the custom logo. Still available, but I have added now t-shirts for men and ladies up in with your logos. So Robert's got 2 logos up in the merch store, and they now have tank tops for everybody. So go and check that out as well. Yeah,
absolutely. Great thing to do, especially summer coming up. Get yourself a t-shirt, a tank top, something, a mug. Hey, everybody either drinks water, coffee, or something. It's a good thing to have. T-shirt, y'all got to wear clothes. Get it for a present. Birthdays coming up, things like that. Whichever you like. Remember, there's also our Wayne Steiger stuff in there too, right?
Yep, I got 4 different logos for our Wayne Steiger channel. So if you're a fan of him, you might want to get some merch from him as well. And of course, we got the new tank tops and all the logos for men and women. And so there's something for everybody in there now. So go and check it out.
Yeah, which is great. Thank you for updating on that because, hey, it's a new thing and we all want to know. And now that that's all out of the way, we're going to get down to brass tacks with the Law of One. Last few weeks, we've been talking about how did this all happen? It was 3 researchers that got together, one with the paranormal and the UFO research, one that was a medium and a channeling lady who channeled Ra, and a third person who did the reporting, took notes and recorded. And together, they all worked together and got this message from Ra by contacting him and channeling through them. And Ra explains them all kinds of stuff from what we're doing here and about the different meditations we should be trying to do, what's real and what's fake, and how crazy, stupid, weird things we do down here because we don't know what we're doing. We're just all crazy kind of people. We don't know what we desire or what we want. We never meditate. We make things. We idol worship. We do stuff. And Ra says, hey, you know what? You aren't doing anything. You're not even in contact with you don't even know what the creator is. We know what the creator is, and we're going to teach you if you're willing to listen. And in the last bit of last week's show, we found out about the harvest, which really confuses me. And we're going to talk more about that tonight. We're going to dig into that. And what is the harvest? He said, well, some people are already awake. Their vibration is through the roof, and they will be the guys being harvested. Then we have a whole bunch of people who are kind of stuck in the middle. They're not so sure if they're going to go to a lower density. Their vibration is low, and the ones that are high, we're going to try to raise them up to that 3rd level. And we're going to try if they're willing to listen. And then there's the bottom rung, which there is no hope for. So people, are you in the no hope? I could get to the next density, or are you already awake? You already vibrating at that higher spiritual vibratory frequency that Ra is talking about? Well, if you are, well, maybe you don't need to watch the show. But if you aren't, which is probably most of you, according to Ra, then maybe you should better watch. And if you don't think any of the above, well, then you're in that lower density and you suck. Get out of here.
Well, chances are you're probably not even watching this channel if that's the case. You know, if you're
That's right.
here, you probably have an open mind and are ready to absorb this, you know what I mean? And probably are working on yourself. So yeah.
That's I just make a little fun of it, you know.
Yeah.
You got to have a little humor with all of that because but it's true, you know. If you're exactly right. If they have that low density, they're not even watching this channel.
Yeah.
And if you are watching a channel, you're looking to go higher. But the question is, and I'm still stuck on it, what is the harvest? And why is the harvest important? And why is Ra trying to harvest our souls?
Well, these are all questions that I would like answers to as well. And hopefully, as we go further in here, that we will get the answers to this, because that's kind of scary, you know. And this is where the Christians, I guess, get this whole rapture thing from, you know, because they're thinking that they're going to get harvested, and only them, though. You know, and we definitely know that that's not going to be the case, which is kind of too bad, really, because I was hoping that they would just kind of go away, but you know.
Oh, and you give people hope, and you know, and you give them that hope. People will do all kinds of crazy things, like, "Ooh, I might win the lottery. I'll buy a ticket." You've been buying it for 30 years and you still haven't won. Guess what? There's probably not much hope for you. Anyway.
Yeah, no doubts. Yeah.
Well, that's,
I know last week we were discussing, you know, whether or not being raptured is going to be a good thing or not. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Like, is that something that we want to do or no? Do we want to say?
Yeah, should or shouldn't we? But, you know, we got to continue on with the book if we're going to find out.
I guess so, yes.
Find out what Ra is really talking about. But he's going to be talking about some other things tonight. So tonight we move deeper into what the Ra material really is. In the previous episodes, we explored those mysteries of the contact and all this other stuff. But we arrive at something even more fascinating. And Ra begins describing what it claims is the structure of consciousness itself. And according to the teaching, the universe is not random. And we're starting to figure that out. At least I am lately. I'm like, man, some of these things really don't seem like it's just happens. It is an evolving system, a progression through stages of awareness. Matter becomes life, and life becomes self-aware, and self-aware begins and makes choices that shape their future and their evolution. And humanity, according to Ra, exists in a very specific stage of that journey, a stage that where the most important question is not technological advancement, in which we're in quite right now, but moral choice. Tonight, we explored the structure, the 7 densities of consciousness, the purpose of human existence, and the possibility that the universe itself may be a vast learning process for awareness. And unfortunately, a lot of people just ain't aware. They are not aware at all. Yeah, it's sad. It is. Oh, why is this thing shrinking? Okay, well, let's get on. What do you think of all this? Do you think we are why is my screen shrinking? It seems like every time I click there we go. I'm clicking buttons and the screen is going bigger and smaller, and I'm like, oh, I hope that ain't happening on the real screen.
It didn't. I didn't notice that, so.
Okay, well, good. I won't mess with it. My hands are here.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about the first density, awareness. This stage is of the raw existence. Do you know what the raw existence of a matter begins? Where are the raw existence? I'll give you a hint. There are 4 elements.
You actually want me to remember the elements now? I know we're made of atoms. I don't know.
See, Nana, you're supposed to say something like, yeah, I know exactly what they are. Why don't you tell everybody? See?
Yeah, exactly. Tell us, Robert.
Yeah, exactly. earth, air, water, and fire.
Oh,
And
okay, those elements. Okay, I was
those
thinking more
elements.
scientific stuff here, but yeah, okay, those elements. Yeah, okay. All right.
So the lesson of first density is beginning. And we all know we're made up of water and minerals. And if you break us down, yeah, we turn into a pile of dust. 70% of us is water.
Mm-hmm.
So we're that way we become a physical form. But does our there's our consciousness? Is our consciousness the physical form? Or is it something else that's running the physical form? Um, this physical form allows us to interact in this physical density. According to Ra, the planets form and stabilize during this phase of physical density that we live on, and then we are part of the planets, and that's why when people say, "Oh, we're going to go to Mars and we're going to go to Jupiter and we're going to go all travel in spacecraft stuff," can we really do that? We are a product of the Earth. So tell me, how are we going to escape here and go somewhere else? You get what I'm saying? Is
Yeah.
that possible?
Well, so now we're getting into some rabbit holes here. I mean, the whole moon landing, was it real? I
Mm-hmm.
believe that we've been there. I just don't believe that we went there the way that they said that we did. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's several ways of doing it. And one would be in the astral. We travel all over the place at night. We're all over doing all kinds of things at night, leaving our body, doing things. So we can travel there that way. Or there's, portals, wormholes and portals, and we can get through that way. And when you go and looking back at the Star Wars stuff, I think that was more of a documentary, honestly, rather than a science fiction. So, yeah, there's those
Wo-
ways.
Woven together into a story that makes it believable. Because if it was a literal documentary, nobody would believe it. But
No,
if you put it into a sci-fi movie, then everybody will watch it regardless. And
exactly. Add some entertainment, some romance, a little drama, all that kind of stuff that we enjoy. All of a sudden, we just swallow it down. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
hidden gems. And again, when we talk about that stuff, it's like as part of the earth, we vibrate at a very close vibration to the earth. That's what I'm
Mhm.
saying, is we are part of the earth, and the earth is us. So if we escaped and we went to another planet, I don't think we would survive long. I think it'd be like taking a plant, or okay, put it this way, taking a fish and putting it on land.
Right.
Yes, the fish can live on land for a short amount of time, but
Mhm.
eventually it will die because it's not for the land, it's for the water.
Right.
And
Different habitats and different atmospheres. And so that's going to be another issue. And I think, the way they were talking about, like on Mars, they would have to build like a habitat for us. We couldn't be running around on Mars, without the suit and everything. That's why we wear the suit and everything. So,
well,
they would,
even
or underground, maybe underground on the planet, maybe.
Well, even I'm not even talking that. Even if you went there and built a habitat, this is
Mm,
the fallacy of can I live on Mars? Because Mars is Mars. It vibrates at a total different frequency than the Earth. And when you're on there, and your frequency and Earth gives us energy, right? Like
mm.
like grounding. We ground to the Earth. Wow, there's got to be a thing to that because the Earth vibrates. We're part of the Earth. We ground ourselves to the Earth, and we know that's a real thing, right? The
Mhm.
sun
Yeah.
gives us. You go lay out in the sun for a while, and doesn't it feel good? You just feel that sun raying on your body. You're like, it's so good because we're part of the sun too.
But at the same time, though, where we are very fragile to the elements, the earth,
Mm-hmm.
air, all the things you got behind you there. We can be out in the sun, but not too long. I don't know about you, or maybe you can, but me, if I'm out in the sun for 10, 15 minutes, I might start burning. I'm not really meant to be on the surface. as it is. I
Yes.
got no melanin in there. Same with the water. Yeah, the water's great, but you get too deep and you can't swim. Right? You're gonna drown. So, same with all the elements. So we can handle a little bit of it, but a little bit too much, and next thing you
All,
know, we don't thrive too well. So,
all in the right.
yeah,
You gotta have that right balance.
yeah, that right balance. That's right. Yeah.
Right
Yeah,
balance.
so
Yeah, because if we go,
fire is great, it keeps us warm and all this, but oh boy, it gets out of control. Next thing you know, our whole house is gone, so
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you get too
Mhm.
close, so it'll burn your fingers or your
Yeah.
hands or your body or whatever. And just so it's just common sense stuff. Too much water, you go underwater. If you don't bring air with you, you'll drown.
Yeah, that's right.
If you
Mhm.
dig a hole and you go into the ground for too long without the sun, your body will just stop functioning too, because you need that sunlight. You need that exposure to vitamin D that your skin absorbs from the sun. You don't have that, you die. Too.
You
I mean,
actually,
either way.
actually, that's not true, because we can survive underneath the ground, but what we do is we have artificial sort of light, in order to, because we do need a little bit of light. But vitamin D
Well,
we can get from vitamins. Like I said, I can't be out in the sun long enough for me to absorb the vitamin D that I need. And did you know that Black people who have all that melanin in their skin, the vitamin D doesn't penetrate them? It's
yeah.
too hard. So they're not getting it that way either. So all of us here on this planet need to take a supplement of vitamin D. We're not going to be able to get what we need from the sun. Very few people do.
But
Very few.
contradict that, what you just said is that it's
Yeah.
kind of the same thing with the water. If I go underwater, I have to bring air with me. If I
Yeah.
go into like if I go into the ground, I have to bring vitamin D with me. If I go to another planet, I have to bring some earth with me. You get what I'm saying? Otherwise you can't survive. It's just, when you start looking at it like that, all the elements make you up and they all make you survive, but without one of them, or too much of one or too little,
Need to be in the balance, and that is
it
gets back to that.
I don't think we understand that a lot. So even in our talk here, it's like you stop thinking, well, I went under the water and I took an air tank and I was fine. Yeah, you brought a little bit of that with you,
Yeah, I know this. This discussion could go on. We can go off the rails here, but we're the only species on this planet that is not from here. The only species that cannot survive out in nature as it is. We got no fur, no scales, no feathers, no nothing. We're very delicate. We have to have a specific habitat, and the temperature in there has to be a certain way, and with the moisture and everything, like, it has to be just so. Otherwise, we don't fare well at all. And yet, all the other animals and whatnot on this planet, they can just go out there and just sleep outside, and everything is fine. So we're definitely not from here originally, most definitely. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, let's not go on that tangent.
Yeah. Okay. Second density. Let's go to the second. We got a whole bunch we got 7 densities to go through. We'll take up the whole night. But no, you're exactly right on all of that. I don't. But one thing other animals do have, every animal seems to have a fence. Animals either have big fangs for teeth or claws.
They have the built-in fur, the fur or scales or feathers or something to keep them warm. They don't need to have clothes. They survive outside. They don't need, you know what I mean? Like, no matter what temperature, even when it gets minus, it boggles me. But us, one temperature off and that's it. We're done for, so.
So as we go into the second density, I'm going to tell you what we have and they don't. The second density induces life. Examples of plants and animals and microorganisms. Yeah, the key things with them exactly is their growth, their movement, and stuff. And towards get that word, towards awareness. The second density begins to not yet process self-awareness, and that's the one thing we have compared to all those animals you just talked about. That's our defense, is our consciousness, our self-awareness. The other things are always moving towards that, but we are already there. And Ross says domesticated animals begin developing individual identity through interactions with humans. Example is, say, a dog. You can take a dog and, you interact with it and it becomes friendly. And then eventually it acts like a human. I know a lot of people say, oh, my dog talks to me. My dog, understands what I'm saying. He's really smart. He does all these things. He interacts with me because you're human and you're interacting with him and he's gaining some of that. Just like other parrots. How many parrots have you seen that start talking like a human? Monkeys or apes that can do sign language. You teach them sign language so they can talk back to you. They didn't get that on their own. They got that from us because we have self-awareness. We have that brain that thinks and the intelligence, and that's our weapon, intelligence.
Yeah.
Which
or a higher IQ.
Yes, the higher IQ. And life begins experiencing individuality, but does not yet fully know itself. And that's what plants and animals do. The dog doesn't look. You put a spot on his head, he'll walk around all day. I know one of my dogs there. He got a piece of tape stuck to his body, and he just walks around with that piece of tape stuck to his body. And I don't.
Until you pull it off. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I didn't want to pull it off for a while because I was like, oh man, he's gonna yipe and yell and try to bite at me or something. And so he just walks around with that tape around, but he don't seem to care. But now if you had a piece of tape on you, what would you be doing? You'd go, what's that doing?
Well, if I knew it was there, I would definitely be trying to take it off. But you know what? How many of us have been walking around with toilet paper back there or something? You know what I mean? We didn't know it. Or somebody put like "kick me" sticker on the back of your back, and we walked around, didn't know it was there, so.
Yeah, but once you became aware it was there.
Well, once we're aware, then it would definitely be. And so would the dog, though. Wouldn't the dog also, if it knew it was there, it would be sitting there trying to get that thing off?
Well, if I tried to pull that tape off, he knows it's there.
But he just doesn't care.
He's like, oh well, I don't care. I don't care what I look like. Yeah. I don't care if I got tape stuck to me. He's just happy to interact with me, and he learns my emotions and what I say. If I yell at him, if I like my one dog, she's real smart. If I move my hand, she comes. If I go like this, she goes. If I go like that, she goes this way. And if I go like this, she goes that way. So she knows what my arm and hand movements are. She knows when I whistle, what it means. And, so she interacts with me. If she wants to be petted, she goes like this and tells me she wants to be petted. So I interact with her that way. They go to the door, like, when the show starts, a lot of times one dog will, and when the show ends, they all know the show ends. And at that very moment the show ends, they're all over here by the door like, oh my God, let me out.
They probably recognize the little tune, that little music that's at the end. They know that's the end of the video, Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're smart that way, eh?
Oh, yeah. And again, where did they get the smartness? From us, because we have the intelligence and we're spilling over onto them. We didn't gain anything. We're not gaining the intelligence from them in gobs like they are from us. We're giving. We're always giving. Because we have it. And that's our gift. That's our gift. So anyway, third density is self-awareness, as we're talking about self-aware. There's where humanity currently exists. The defining feature in self-awareness. Third density begins to ask questions like, who am I? Why am I here? Man, we talk about that. You talk about at the beginning of the show. We're the only one species that doesn't really belong here. Why am I here? Right? And what is right and what is wrong? Man, do we question that all the time? Who is right? Who is wrong? What are we doing right and wrong? And, it seems to me that we all get together and decide that something's okay, and then we do it, regardless if it sounds right. After a while, people question it, and then, oh my gosh, maybe that ain't so good.
That is what's happening right now, Robert. Everybody's waking up, and everything that we thought was good and what we thought was holy, what we thought, was right, and they had our backs, and turns out that everything is wrong. Everything is upside down, and so
Hmm.
yeah, that's what's happening right now. So maybe we are moving into that fourth density or whatever you're talking about there right now, because that's where we're at. Yeah.
Yeah. Ross says that the primary purpose of the third density is making a moral choice. And you're right. Just what
And
you
that's what we're
described there.
doing right now. Right.
Yeah.
All these files that are coming out, and we're
Mhm.
seeing what our leaders of our countries, the elites, the royals, everybody that we looked up to and thought were, better than we are. You know what I mean? Turns
Mhm.
out, oh, well, they were doing things that I couldn't even conceive of, so
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, because Ra had earlier said that one thing we do have is the free will to do what we want. But then again, a lot of us are kind of forced into things to do. That's why I guess they call us sheeple, because I really don't want to go to work and slave away for the almighty dollar to pay my bills and have a place to live. That's
Mhm.
really not my goal in life to dedicate my life to work, but that's what happens because that's a choice I had to make, free will. Of course, the moral choices are, like you said, do I want to do bad things or do I want to do good things as deemed by the rest of the people? Am I normal? Do I go along with the crowd so that I look normal and people don't point me out? At least to a certain extent. I'm sure a lot of people right here that are listening are probably saying, "Oh, I'm different than everybody else." But really, if you were that different, people would section you out, or what's the word I'm looking for? Um,
Yeah,
um,
you get gaslit,
yeah,
that's seems to
yeah,
be the word of the year. And that's what humanity has been, gaslit, literally, this whole time. And yeah, if you don't do what everybody said, I mean, COVID, I mean, that was a perfect example of humanity. And that's exactly why they did it, as an experiment, to see how quick can we get everybody to comply. Can we get them to go buy the arrow in the store? Can we get them to put the mask on? How quickly? Will they take the thing? How many took the thing? All that's what that was all about. And so now they have that data and they know exactly how to do it next time now. And we saw how quickly that was, and how sheeple. I mean, my gosh, I mean, my own family members, like we were arguing over this. Like this became a thing until they found out that I was right. Now we don't talk about it now, of course, because it turns out I was right. So
yeah,
yeah, that's a perfect example of humanity in a nutshell, right there.
yeah. Well, and that's exactly it. It's amazing how people will turn on other people
Yeah.
so fast because what I think is morally right, you think is morally wrong. Like, putting on the mask versus not putting on the mask, following the arrow, not following the arrow. It seems trivially stupid, but, to some people, it was super important.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I mean, to the point where they're snitching out their neighbors now, because you know what I mean. Like, this is like the '40s all over again. I mean, come on. Like, and some people are still wearing those things, the masks,
mhm,
like they're still wearing them. Young
yeah.
people, even, yeah,
Mhm.
it's unbelievable. But yeah, that just shows you right there.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So this is the density. The third density is it's where uh, they you decide your path of evolution. And Ra says this is the shortest but most intense stage of evolution. So think of it this way: it won't be long. We'll figure it out really fast, right?
Cool.
And
Yeah.
which is a good thing because this density, this one sucks. Because one day you're doing one thing and it's right, and then next day you're doing something and it's wrong, and nobody knows what they're doing. Like you said, your neighbors are turning you in, and the other people are still wearing a mask, and uh, you
Yeah,
got
and
to.
this isn't new. I mean, back in the '40s, because I remember, like, as I was post-war, and I remember my grandpa, like, he had to keep his mouth shut. You weren't allowed to talk about what happened there. Nobody won that war, and yet I didn't understand any of this stuff, obviously, back then. But now I can
Mhm.
imagine how hard that must have been for him to sit there and not say anything. because I know he was strong, opinionated, and so they went through that, then, we couldn't talk about that, now we're going through, we can't talk about the 20s now, 2020. That's, we're not really supposed to be talking about that now, because they don't want to be reminded of how stupid everything was, and how, so this isn't new. Humanity is going through this all the time.
And I could tell you a new one that's coming right up. And this segues into a future show you're going to have to do, which is aliens. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's going to be the believers and the non-believers, and people are going to fight over this. Trump had come out, we're going to raise, and I just had my buddy send me a letter saying there's no such thing as aliens. There's no such thing as Bigfoot. It's all a mirage. There's no such existence. It's all make-believe, blah, blah, blah. And so you're going to have the two people arguing over these things. You're going to have, and of course you can throw in a few other density things, situations like religion. Are the aliens real? Are they fake? Is it, is it God? Is it this? Is it that? If you believe in God, then you shouldn't believe in aliens. If you don't believe in God, well, then you believe in aliens. Or is it the devil? You could go on and on and on and on. What do you think of that?
The funny thing about that is that the Pope, who is supposed to be the leader of religion, right, or the Abrahamic religion anyways, the first, the Catholic, which is the first thing there. Well, he's already come out and said that he's going to baptize the aliens. So, even though their religion goes against aliens, according to their religion, we're the only species in the universe. But at the same token, so in the next breath, you could say, he's coming out, oh yeah, no, don't worry about it. We're going to be baptizing those aliens when they come, and we're going to do all this. So, I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, religion is going down, obviously. I mean, once the alien disclosure comes out, religion is gone.
Well, it's going to divide. I think
it's going to divide for sure.
I think his idea of saying that was to, try to unify as many people as he can, saying, well, people might question this, but, it might unite a few more people because I said this, because otherwise there's a lot of Christians out there that are going to say, yeah, I believe aliens exist, and they still go to church and believe in God and do all these things. But then there's a lot of them out there, when the aliens finally land, will go, oh, well, maybe there is no God. The aliens, do they believe in God? We asked them, do they have Jesus and believe in God? And they're going to say, no, we don't. Or maybe they do. Who knows? I don't know. And then they're going to say, well, they said they don't, so now I don't believe anymore. I'm not, I'm going to change religions or something. Who knows? I don't know, but you can see it coming. It's a tidal wave, and when it happens, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, not to get conspiratorial here on this show, but the New World Order, I mean, we know what their agenda is, and they want one everything. So one religion, one government, one currency, everything is just one, and we've discussed this, I know, on other shows as well. Like, if the aliens were going to come down here, they're not going to want to deal with a whole bunch of leaders. They're going to just want to deal with one leader. And so I'm almost thinking now that maybe that's not such a bad idea to do all this into the one thing that they want. And maybe this is why they want to do that, because they know something like this is about to happen. And we need to organize and figure it out to get one person to talk to, and you know what I mean? So.
Well, and that makes a lot of sense, because, now I study a lot of Native American stuff. And as the white man came to the Americas, they found different, as you all know, there's different tribes of Native Americans, different hundreds and hundreds. And even when you find a tribe, like, say, we'll talk, the Sioux, well, there was tribes within that confederation of the Sioux. There was several, multiple branches, and then different tribes under that branch. And they may all get together, but they still are, they were in bands of, 100 or 200 people scattered over here and over there and over there. They weren't all like one big group, one unit that all spoke the same language and all did the same things. And what happened was, like you're talking about, is the government came in like the alien would and said, hey, we need you to sign a treaty. Now, 50 of the tribes said, no, we don't want to. 10 of the tribes said, well, 10 of the chiefs, and of course, each tribe has multiple chiefs. So they didn't care who the chief was, as long as a chief came and signed the treaty. So you got 10 chiefs that show up from 10 tribes, regardless if their tribe was for it or not, but that chief was. And the other tribes didn't, but as being from that confederation, the government said, okay, here, you signed the treaty. We're coming in to take the land. And when they showed up, the other tribes, we didn't agree to this. Well, yeah, but that chief over there did. And we don't care about you. He's under your, and he signed the treaty. And I think that's what will happen if aliens ever came to Earth, because, again, you're right. We have all these countries, and we have all these branches inside of branches of governments and nations, and everybody wants their voice, and they're going to say, who speaks for you? And everybody's going to look at everybody and go, I don't know.
Well, that's just it. So, we got to think about it, like, for a minute, just to, you know what I mean? Like, maybe it would be a lot easier, for contact's sake, if there was just one leader, that's in charge of humanity. Like, we're not that big. There's not that many of us. Like, we think that we are, but not really. I mean, you look at the universe, we're just a little speck over here. You know what I mean? Like, so, and having just the one religion, and, once the alien thing comes out, we're going to have to dismantle the religion that we have. But we can't just take it away. People aren't going to be able to live without having some sort of religion. Okay, that they can believe in, and that, you know what I mean? So you have to come up with something. So, you know what I mean? And then going with the one government, of course, with the leader, one religion, and then one currency.
What happened here? You know what we just did? And you brought it up a little while ago, but you know what we just talked about?
I don't know.
Star Wars.
Did we? Oh, well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't remember
what was the plot of Star Wars?
I don't remember. Like I said, I don't even remember. That came out in the 70s or whatever it was, and I probably haven't seen it since. So I don't remember what it was, but you know what? It's starting to look like a documentary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the whole plot of Star Wars was, if you watch the beginning episodes, the first ones were last and last ones were first. But anyway, the idea was there was a Senate, there was all these representatives from all these different planets, and they would meet and they would argue and they would, figure out things, and, for the Republic, correct? There was a Republic. And then Darth Vader, the dark force, the Sith or whatever he was, anyway, he came along and said, you know what, we don't need this. And Darth Vader says, yeah, we just need one voice to rule everything and make decisions instead of all of this bureaucratic nonsense, so we can get things done and clean up everything and do anything. We just need one voice to tell everybody what to do. Yeah. And that's where he came along and got the military or somehow, and then he was going around and my word is law, and that's it. There is no Senate to go argue. You don't obey my rule, period. I'm the king now, basically. We just take our big giant ray beam and blow up your planet. And that's it. There's no other voice. And
now, I have a sneaking suspicion that voice is going to be AI.
Well, there you go.
Because AI, doesn't have all the feelings that we have. And that's the problem with humans. We become leaders, but we're still human. And we have all this baggage, that we come with. Well, they don't. They're never late. They're never hungover. They don't have family to go to. It's just reason. And you know what I mean? Like, there's none of this human. Yeah. So, anyways,
well, I'm seeing the people listening to this, and I'm just imagining they're all sitting there going,
Oh
"Oh,
my
you're so
God.
far out on a limb." But just guess what? People do a little research. After you think about it a little bit, this is awakening. We're probably on the right track. So if you
AI
don't
is
like
probably
it,
going to be
leave a
our
comment
leader,
down
and it's
below
going
and
to,
tell me why you don't.
yeah,
Right?
it's going to be our leader, and it's going to be our God. Basically, it's what we're going to be worshiping. It's going to have all the
So now
answers that we're looking for.
yeah, well, I know, I totally agree with this.
Yeah.
So Ron goes into the fourth density. We got to get into the fourth density.
Yes.
And this stage of consciousness evolves towards collective awareness and compassion. I'm hoping that we make it to the fourth density instead of just to the third and then turn around and have one leader and go to the dark side kind of thing.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, because we could go at this point at the third stage, we could go either way.
Either way.
But we're going to go to the fourth density. We're going to all hope for the fourth density. And this stage, consciousness evolves into collective awareness and compassion, and which is a good thing. Having compassion for your neighbors, service to others, and we talked about it in episode 2, part 2. Characteristics like greater empathy, telepathic communication. Boy, I can't wait for that. Maybe I can't, but stronger sense of unity. I like that one too. But telepathic communication, could you read my mind? I don't know if I'd want to read other people's minds. What I would find out.
I would assume that you can turn it on and off, because if you couldn't turn that off, you will go insane. If you're listening to everything, it's like having the radio on constantly in your head and you can't get the radio off. That would drive you insane. So you would have to be able to tap in and tap out.
Yep.
And I'm assuming that by the time we get to this fourth density, then that we're not going to be misusing that privilege.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And using it for nefarious things. So that's where we got to drop this thing that we got going on here with the criminal mind and all this nonsense that we're doing now. So yeah.
So here's a quick thought for you. Now, I love to study history, and I'm going to bring this up again. But if you go back enough, you'll find that most things, like, they always show about the caveman drawing pictures on the walls. And, you've seen them ones where they're doing handprints and pictures and trying to get the point across by, like even the Egyptians, they were drawing with like pictograms, with the little bird and the little thing. And it's all pictures. Their writing is pictures, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you really stop to think about it, why were they using pictures as writing? If they were so advanced,
it's kind of like nowadays emojis.
Well, yeah,
in a sense, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That makes you wonder, right?
Well, but yeah, because if I talk telepathically, I wouldn't know language, and if I didn't know language, how would I write down a sentence to communicate it with you? Because telepathic, I would be sending you pictures or images or what feelings. That's what I would be sending you. And in order to describe that, I would describe it in pictures, as like on a wall. I would be drawing things to convey my message to people in the future.
Well, let's put it this way. When, as a medium or whatever, you're getting messages, from spirit, from the other side, you quite often will just get a flash of a picture or a word or, something like that. That's how they communicate with us. So why would they not communicate like that back then, showing us in pictures? So when you see this, what do you think of there? And, and try to explain things that way. So to me, that kind of makes sense. But on the other hand, though, they were in the third, like they were behind us.
What do we mean?
You're talking about the stuff from back in Egypt, like you're talking about stuff that we found, pictographs, and I would assume that that's from the old days, and maybe they weren't advanced yet.
What I'm saying
So,
is maybe we were to the fourth density and then we fell backwards.
yeah. Well, we've been
Because,
through many resets, right?
yeah,
We've talked about that many times. And so, yeah,
because just like anything else, society doesn't collapse overnight. I mean, it's like talking, how many years would it take to just, get rid of our language? Even if I could communicate telepathically with you, I would still know how to talk, and I would still probably talk to other people and use my voice, and I would teach my children, and their children would teach their children, and it would go on for quite a while before finally people just quit communicating by speaking.
I think that would, go quite quickly, actually.
Well, yeah, maybe 2 or 3
Yeah.
generations, but
Oh,
same
yeah, that
with
would be gone. There's
same
no
with
need for it. If you know what a person is feeling, you don't have to ask them how you're doing. You can feel it, or you can hear it, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to ask.
Well,
You know,
exactly. But then again, if you were telepathic, it would take a while to get rid of the telepathic stuff and go to speaking all the time. You see what I'm
yeah,
saying?
speaking would take
So,
too long. See, with the telepathic, it's like you got a whole sentence in a split second. Talking
yeah.
takes too long. We got to articulate the words and get them out. And writing is even worse. We got to spell it right and all this. But telepathically, it's instantly like that. There's no way we're going back to speaking. Once you know that, there's no way.
Mhm.
No
Yeah.
way. And,
But again, if your vibration and you're going backwards, I mean, obviously they had technology at some point there, and maybe they had, and then it went backwards, and then we became violent. We quit being telepathic. We started speaking and yelling and fighting and killing and, doing all of these horrible, nasty things, and went backwards after that. And now we're coming back up to that point. We're getting to the third density again, where we have that technology he's talking about. And now we're going to the fourth density, where we become telepathic. And will we make it to, I'm segueing in here, to the fifth density? And what is it, the fifth density? Now, you've studied this book. I ain't going to put you on the spot. The fifth density is wisdom. And that's where we all want to get to. For me, that's my big goal, is wisdom. And fifth density develops deep understanding and wisdom. It beginning learning how to balance knowledge and compassion. And right now, we got a lot of knowledge, and we're getting to the compassion. And this stage emphasizes reflection, a learning, advanced consciousness. And I guess that advanced consciousness is that telepathic. It's a bunch of other things, knowing right and wrong, knowing all these things. What do you got to say on that fifth, the wisdom part?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're all striving for, isn't it? I mean, that's why we're contacting spirits and all this, because we want knowledge, gnosis, wisdom, So, yeah, I mean, we're striving for that. And I think we're getting there. Like, we're waking up now. Now we have the internet and all the books and all the information at our fingertips. A lot of us are getting a lot more wise now, and hopefully are moving up to that density that you're talking about there. But there will be people left by. So going back to like the end of last video, honestly, with the harvest. So if those of us who are evolving this way will get harvested out and placed into the next density, the ones who aren't. So say those people who are on the list, you know what I mean, in the files, and people who are doing those kind of things, and who are creating wars, and so all our politicians and all these other nasty people out there who are still creating all this nastiness, they will be left behind.
Yeah,
they have a while longer to go until they reach that kind of consciousness. They're not there yet, so they need some more time here. But hopefully us who are listening to this program are at that place now where we can leave. We're done with that stuff, so yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Ross says many advanced extraterrestrial civilizations operate on this level, but he says that the fifth density is about mastering wisdom without compassion. And you mentioned AI earlier, how AI knows everything, but yet what is it lacking?
Emotion.
Compassion.
which is a part of compassion and empathy and all that. He doesn't have that. So you're not going to get that mixed in. That's what I'm saying. So when I make a decision, I got so many different things that I'm using to make that decision. I'm not just going with my logic. That would be easy. Yep, it's this. That's it. We're not bringing the emotion or the whatever into it. Which just makes it hard to be a human because it's complicated. We're complicated that way because of that. So.
Absolutely. And that is true. That's, you got to have compassion with the wisdom because like somebody in the past here had said, they talked about society and how if you don't contribute to society that, at least so much of a percent contributing, then they should do away with you. Well, that's not compassion. That'd be like saying if you're handicapped and you can't contribute and you can't survive on your own, we don't give you a wheelchair, we just leave you out in the cold and then you just die because
that's not how it was, to be honest. The strongest survive, the fittest of the whatever it's called, that's the way it was. It wasn't until the last 50 years or so, it was only less than 30 years ago that we got rid of the institutions and we put all our, patients into group homes and gave them more of a normal sort of home. But, it wasn't that long ago. We just stuck them into an institution. They all were abused and horrible conditions, so we haven't really evolved that quickly. Like, it wasn't that long ago since we were doing that. Like we think that we're all, this now, but that we're only been doing that for the last few years, like in my lifetime, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, we're just slowly kind of getting out of that now, but actually we're reverting. Canada has that. Did you know that the highest leading cause of death in Canada is by maids now, which is medical assisted, exiting out of here. Yeah. And what it's all about, organ harvesting.
Wow.
So when I just did my taxes now, I made sure to click off no to organ donation. I will no longer participate in organ donation. Highly recommend it. I mean, I feel sorry for those who are actually legitly, needing one or whatever. But yeah, no, they're abusing it here in Canada. Yeah. There are people who are mentally ill or whatever. They're going or depressed or homeless. One guy was homeless, didn't know what to do, so he was going to do maids. Well, he ended up doing a GoFundMe and ended up getting $60,000, and of course changed his mind. Obviously, he didn't want to do that, but he thought he had no option. Well, the doctors and the healthcare system here in Canada now is encouraging this, and the next thing will be exactly what you just said. If you're not contributing anymore, if you're too old or whatever, we can't afford to have you anymore, maybe you should just maids, you know what I mean? And do society a favor. So we're kind of reverting now. We're actually going back to sort of that thing here in Canada anyways. So,
again, this is where, like you said, this is the fork in the road, the third density, where some people are like you saying, I want to advance, and other people are saying, just take the maids option,
Right.
Here we are. We're here to help you take the maids option. Well, is that compassion? Oh yeah, it's like saying, oh, the horse hurt his leg, so I'm going to put it down. I'm having compassion. Well, what about fixing the leg? What about mending it? What about, doctoring it? Nope, you got to cut. We got to put him down. No compassion. it's not 100%. Got to get rid of it, So anyway, we're going to move on. We're getting at the end of the show, but 6th density, we got to hit all these densities. And this is where Ra claims that is where his civilization is, in the 6th density. Even though there's a 7th density, he is in the 6th. And this one, at this stage, the individual identity blends into group consciousness. I suppose that's with the telepathy and all, the
we're all thinking the same. We're all one. This is where all that whole thing comes from.
And they have compassion and all these other good things. And civilizations form social memory complexes. Sounds kind of like the Borg.
Yes.
Social memory complex means that all beings share their knowledge and experiences collectively, which is kind of cool because you could go out and do something and I feel like I experienced it too. And then I go and do something and then you feel like it and vice versa.
Well, it kind of takes away the whole a concept of having to do everything. Everybody has to do everything, like read all the books. Wouldn't it be nice if it was just a few that read the books and we all knew the knowledge, though? Wouldn't it be nice? We would actually accomplish so much more if we did it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, but it does sound like the Borg mentality type of thing as well, which can get we've seen the dark side of that, and that's not good, right? So, but
Yeah.
things can be done for good, and that's the problem with humanity is we always take it. We have a lot of great ideas, like weather modification. That was a great idea at the time. But what have we done?
Mhm.
Oh no, we've taken it and used it for something bad. So, so if we can get all that criminal mentality rooted out of us,
Yeah.
I don't know what that is exactly, but we got to get rid of that part of humanity for sure.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that you'd have to get rid of that, because if somebody, like you said, if one person experienced, it could share to everybody. So what?
Yeah.
One person goes out and kills somebody and unalives them, and then says, "Oh, look, now you can all experience this. Look, I robbed the bank, and now you can experience that." I mean, you could do all these bad things too, and say, "Oh my
The
God,"
thing is when we're all one like that, if you are unaliving or robbing or doing these things, you're doing it to yourself.
Yes.
You're actually hurting yourself. So, and that's the whole concept of that. Why would you hurt that person when you're just hurting yourself? You wouldn't do it. You'll be like doing it to yourself, like stabbing yourself or taking your money out of your bank and just throwing it in the garbage. It would be the same. Like, why would you do that? Right? You wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of consciousness level that we want to get to. Get rid of that whole, oh, me. I got to hoard everything, all the information, all the money, everything. I got to hoard it. And then I got to try and steal a little bit too. And then I got to do this and this game over here. And, we got to get rid of that whole thing. I don't know where that came from. It's probably from the people who made us. But yeah, hopefully we can, eradicate that. Wouldn't it be nice? Anyways, keep going, because I know we're getting close to the end.
No, I agree. I think you made a super good point, because murder and robbing would be out of the question, because it'd be like killing yourself, or
doing it to yourself,
robbing your own stuff, and then so why would you do that?
Why would you do that? It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
So I think that's how we eliminate all of that, is getting into the sixth density, and then we work together better. Of course, you got the seventh density, which is return to source. And at this final stage of evolution, consciousness dissolves back into the one infinite creator. Individual identity fades, and all experiences return to the universal source. And the journey ends where it begins, with the unity with the creator. And so that is the final destination. I think, because I think the creator is mind, it's thought, and the thought experiences itself by us. It creates a bunch of fractal consciousness. This is my opinion, everybody. So if you don't like it, put it in the comments below and tell me what your thoughts are. But the thing is, the thought of consciousness is the creator. It thinks and it happens, and then you are a part of that, and then you go out and experience things through many, many, many lifetimes of, and then eventually you raise to that higher consciousness, and then you eventually return to the creator with all of that experience bundled up inside you from millions of lifetimes maybe. And then the creator says, wow, this is like go juice, and part of me is returned with all this information.
And this again goes back to we're all one, is that we're all fractals of this creator, and we're here having a physical experience, so that we can then return back with all that information back to the creator. And that's why we're all one. We're all part of it. And so again, with that whole oneness thing. And so the New Agers are on something there. They have that part right. Yeah. So a human's purpose, he says, in this density, Ross says, third density exists for one reason: choice. Like I said, we're at the crossroads. Human beings must choose between two evolutionary paths: service to others. The path focuses on compassion, cooperation, and helping others. And I know some people really do that.
Hey, you got a shirt in there in the store with that about helping others or something like that. And
Bosto, yeah, that's one of R. Wayne Steiger's, slogans: "Be of service to others." Bosto, and yeah, I do have shirts in the merch store. Go and check it out right now.
yeah, and he says, which is the same as Bosto's, service to self. This path focuses on power, control, self-interest. According to Ra, this path also evolves consciousness through dominance rather than cooperation. Talking human evolution depends on this path it chooses. So anyway, back to the harvest. I saved the good part for last. And this is the harvest. Ra introduces this idea the planetary civilization evolves through cycles. We know that to be true. Each cycle lasts approximately 75,000 years. And at the end of the cycle comes a harvest, meaning that beings move into the next density if they are ready. And those who are not ready repeat the lessons of the current density. And this density sucks. So I want to go ahead. Earth may currently be near the end of such a cycle. Otherwise, I guess Rob wouldn't be talking to us. And the concept has often been connected to the discussions about spiritual awakening and global transformation. How do those two go together, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Ra describes one of the last things Ra describes is the wanderers. And these souls are from higher densities who choose to incarnate here on Earth. And their purpose is to help humanity during periods of transition. And we all may know one of those. Their characteristics include feeling different from others, a strong desire to help humanity, an interest in spirituality and cosmic questions, so the wanderer comes in from other places, comes here, reincarnates as a human, and tries his best to change the world that he lives in for the better. So maybe
I bet you many of us, maybe you and I, and the people who are watching right now, are a wanderer. We just don't know, because the things that you just said there, I think we all feel that way, don't we? So, why are we doing these shows? Well, we're trying to help people, trying to wake people up. Why are we even bothering with that? There's got to be something to it. So I'm hoping that we're one of the few that get to exit out of here. Yeah.
Well, and Ross says at the end, he says, all civilizations go through this process. And so there's no avoiding it. You have to move forward. The only thing you can do is work to get forward, to get away, to raise your vibration, to work towards that density, take the right fork in the road to move on. Because if you take the wrong fork, you're just going to have to repeat the class. So what's your last words on that? And before we sign
up? I'm sure we all have repeated that class many times before. I have a feeling I've been here many, many times. It's really too bad that you come back with amnesia every time. But I'm hoping that, I think as a collective humanity, I think we're getting there. Like the book is talking about, like, it's amazing. That book was written in the 80s, and I certainly wasn't aware of any of this back then. But now I am, and so I can see how we are definitely moving in that direction. That book is bang on, I would say. And most spiritual teachers today are basing their teachings on this book series. So this is where you're getting it from, and religions. Religion was already here when this book came out, but you can see where it all sounds sort of similar with the harvest, rapture, call it whatever you want. But it's been talked about. And so, yeah, I am really enjoying this series. I hope that you guys are as well. So,
yeah, we're learning a lot. Like I said, it's a lot of stuff you probably already know, or maybe even you feel it, but you just can't express it. Maybe others put you down when you think about this stuff, but don't think it's all woo-woo. Like I said, Nina, you said, yeah, you're right. This book was wrote in the 80s. And yet, 40 years later, here we are, and it's like it was written yesterday.
It was like it was written for today. Yes, I know. So yeah, you can't deny it. So it kind of goes with a lot of the other shows. We did a show on the harvest over on my channel. We hadn't even started this series yet when we did that. And like you were saying, the signs, we keep seeing signs everywhere. And this whole harvest thing keeps coming back. And so I definitely do think there's something to that. Not to be scared of it. I'm looking forward to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's exciting.
It is. So continue on with us, and we'll have a part 4 coming up next time. So join us then as we continue. Don't forget to go over to Beyond Truth with Nina and subscribe over there, where we're going to be talking about a lot of crazy things, having good guests, buy your mugs and shirts and things like that. And join us over there. Join us here on Tuesday nights with me and David Null as we talk about Native American myths and legends. And he'll tell a good story, pull some cards, and I'll tell you a little bit about history, about the natives, about the mountain men, the pioneers, all that good stuff. So with that, everyone, remember to learn from the law of one and ascend to the higher density road that we're path is on, and we're at the fork in the road. We need to take the good fork or the fork, whichever one you want. You can go back to the lower density. I don't care.
Yeah.
But it's your free will, remember? And with that, remember to be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. Love y'all. Peace, everybody.